And she was terrified. And she refused to let go of the tool chest. And I was watching this, and I thought to myself, isn't it interesting that we're more inclined to hold on to what's taking us down to than reaching out and grabbing something that's going to lift us up? Isn't that interesting? Okay? And I was absolutely fascinated by this. But see, that's the same thing that a consciousness of loss does. It's that it takes us deeper and deeper and deeper into the floodwaters. The very same thing. So after the rescue, I do have to tell you, they did rescue the people. She finally did let go. What she said was fascinating. She said she was reluctant to let go of the last bit of control that she appeared to have. All right? See? And I heard that. I said, well, see what that is. That's the difference between control and power. See, control will often keep us in the experience that we're trying to control. And power will lift us out. See, you ever catch yourself trying to manage a negative condition? Trying to manage that condition rather than lift yourself out of it? So then the question becomes, how do we see things in a different way? How do we change the way that we look at things so that the things that we look at change? How do we do that? There was a note from the universe on March 9th that I absolutely loved. It said, when something difficult or painful happens, Darlene, always look to see what it makes possible that wouldn't have otherwise been possible. Like a new adventure, a closer friendship, or chocolate in your peanut butter. They're cute. But this is a line I loved. Everything makes you better. Signed, the universe. Everything makes you better. What if we could believe that? What if when we're going through the experiences that we're going through, we could actually believe that? What if we could just stop in the midst of that experience and affirm to ourselves, everything makes me better? Say that with me now. Everything makes me better. Okay, that's your challenge for this week. To remember that every single time, you need to remember that. Everything makes me better. I remember about 1991 or 1992, I had been in this teaching for about 5 years or so. And I found this home that I wanted to buy. And I thought it was my dream home. It was brand new. And these homes were built at it was a new development. It took up a little over a block of a street. And these homes were on a slight elevation so that if you looked in a certain way, if you stood in a certain place, looked in a certain way, you could see the lights of a few of the homes and a few of the streets below. So that was my idea of a view, okay? And it was interesting because I used to drive from my home in Willow Glen at that time to this house in Almaden Valley 2 or 3 times a week because I wanted to buy that home. And I would sit on the porch of that home a couple of times a week. Now, there was no one living on the block. And I used this as my means of visualization. This is how I was visualizing it. I was putting myself in the situation. All right? So one night, I drove to the house, and to my absolute surprise, there was a car sitting out in front of my house. There were lights on in my house. There were people walking around in my house. And I couldn't believe it because that was the only house on the street that had been sold. My house. And I remember, I felt so defeated. I felt completely rejected. And you know what happens when you start sinking to that level? And I said, this stuff we teach, it's not true. It's not true. Because if it was true, I would have my house right now. All right? And I still came to church after that. But I would sit here. I was angry. I was really angry. Dr. J would be up here talking. I'd have my arms folded, looking all mean. Because in my mind, I had done everything they told me I needed to do. I had treated, I had visualized, okay? And somebody had my house. So finally, I realized that I was spending a lot of time in loss. A lot of time in loss. I was spending a lot of time in the one that got away. And my life started reflecting it as things in my life started falling away. And so I decided that maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to let go of the anger. Maybe it's time to figure out what it is that I need to understand so that unlimited good is unfolding in my life. And the interesting thing was that once I began to open my mind again, once I began to be open again, let go of the anger, I began to see the difference between having a preference for something and outlining the way that it needed to happen. See? Once I opened my mind, I began to see the difference between visualization and vision. Because the way that I'd been using visualization was outlining. I was telling the universe, this house, this way, right now, all right? So, but my vision opened me to infinite possibilities. That was what was so powerful. My vision, once I began to see the difference, and Ernest Holmes explains it,